Tom,
Hey, good afternoon.
afternoon.
How are you this dreary day?
Ugh, I have the worst cold. I have not been able to shake this week, so
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
weekend. It's
Yep,
okay. It's going around. My kids have been sick forever, it feels like this year.
I've had a chest congestion for 3 weeks now. It's gotten better, but it's still there.
Um,
I guess it's the season.
it is, but I was hoping by April I wouldn't be sick anymore, but I guess that's too much to ask for. Hey, Peter.
Uh,
Hey
Hi,
there.
Roberta.
Hello. There you go.
good morning, good afternoon. How are you, Roberta?
Good.
So I think the only person we're waiting for is Kathy. So, but I haven't gotten anything on whether or not, so we can just give it a few minutes and see if she joins.
Um, I thought Amanda was, or both Amandas were supposed to be part of the meeting.
Yeah, I know Amanda, chairwoman, she had to go for a doctor's appointment, so she won't be on today.
Amanda Meter.
Yeah.
What about Amanda Egan?
I have not heard from her whether or not she'll be on today or not.
Does that mean this may be everybody or no, that's right. You said Kathy was supposed to be on.
I haven't heard from her whether or not she's coming or not. Don't know unless they tell me. So, um,
Do we need a quorum, do you think, or is there a
not for
certain?
the sub, yeah, not for the subcommittee because we don't really vote in the
Correct.
subcommittee.
Okay.
So the subcommittee is informal. So we've never had to have a quorum. It's just who shows up and we discuss the stuff. And then eventually you present it back to the full commission. And then that's where we need the quorum because that's when we take the votes and things go forward.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm. This is so we can get more stuff done because otherwise, no one wants to do a 8-hour day meeting. Right. So
Some of us already do a 16-hour day. We don't need that on top of it.
exactly.
My wife keeps telling me, I thought you were supposed to be retired. I said, well, I am, sort of.
Mm.
Roberta, how's your road holding up right now? Well, it's done pretty well this year. It's kind of settled fast because we got warm nights and warm rain kind of early on. But there are still places where you can tell there's frost in it because you can look down into the road and see a hole that goes down, a foot or more. So we've been trying to stay off it. We've done pretty well. We parked out at a neighbor's house about halfway out the road and put up a sign saying it's a Class E crime to damage a public easement. And we had one person who drove past the sign, drove all the way in, turned around, drove all the way out again when we weren't home. And the ruts are still there. The other half of the road from our neighbors out it's doing okay. It's got a lot of tracks in it, but it's beginning to kind of pack in to be a little bit more level.
Mhm.
Growing up here in Franklin County as a young kid, I remember several homesteads that folks just planned to walk for the month of April. They parked their car and sometimes it was 2 to 3 miles that they just had to walk this time of year because
Wow.
the roads are so muddy. I remember 3 or 4 of those families that were like that.
Mm.
This picture behind me, that was in 1983, spring of 1983. And that I think was taken on the day when we had tried to stock up ahead of time so we wouldn't have to make any trips in and out the road, but we were running out of things like milk that we couldn't keep that long. So we went out to do a grocery run. And on the way out, we had to winch the Jeep with tire chains on it through in 4 places.
Yeah.
And on the way home, the first time we got stuck, I told David, well, I'm going to take the milk and start heading for the house. And if you catch up with me, I'll hitch a ride the rest of the way. It's usually about a 10-minute walk, but hauling mud on my boots, it was more like a 20-minute walk.
Yeah.
And he arrived at the house with a Jeep an hour after I did.
Wow.
Yeah, we would have been okay walking in and out ourselves if it was just us, but we had another logging operation in there about every 2 years for the first 20 years we were here. And the town refused to tell them to come back and fix the road because they said, no, it's a public road. They've got a right to use it. If it were private, we would have been okay with it because we could have put up a gate and it would be just us. And if we messed it up, it's our own fault.
Yeah.
The problem is when everybody else messes it up and we don't have any right to keep them off of it.
I hear you.
I think we can go ahead and start. And if Kathy joins us, great. And if the other Amanda joins us, great. So.
Okay, so we going over the survey first?
We can go over the survey first if you want.
Okay.
Did we actually have an agenda for this? I've been on the road so much, I don't know where I am.
I do. It was. Sorry. I'm trying to shake this cold.
You need to get a drink of water?
Oh, I have my tea here. It's just the cough. It comes and goes.
David's
Hold on 1 second. Oh, yep. So I think I sent out the agenda.
All right, sorry.
Hold on. I hope I sent out the agenda, but who knows? It was so long ago. I probably sent it out.
I think we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
You sent out the list of subcommittee dates and times on March 12th.
Let's see. Okay, so I have the agenda here. Hold on. All right, so first on the agenda is, call to order and then discussion of what you guys want to take for action, and then setting up a schedule to carry out the actions needed, assignment and responsibility if we need it, other business, public comments. Nobody's told me they wanted to come today, so I don't have anybody in the queue. So hi, Kathy. So that's what I have. It's mostly just a discussion on, I think, what you guys want to do and who wants to take what responsibility and how to present that back to the commission.
Okay, so who calls us to order?
Well, I'm calling it to order now. I see Peter Coughlin, I see Tom Schofield, I see Roberta Manter, and I see Kathy Nadeau. So we're called to order. So you guys can start however you want. This is more informal, so subcommittee.
I propose we take a look at the survey first.
Okay.
The word to get out, prior to me being able to actually.
Yeah, so where'd we leave off on that? Seems to me, I remember you said MMA had done one and had a more recent one been drafted?
Yes. And hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up and share it with you guys. It is Microsoft Forms. Log in.
Yeah, in your email, you said the commission prepared a survey last year, but it was not distributed for response.
That's right. Here, I have it. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, here. So this is what it looks like. And then these are the following questions. So we asked what the name of the municipality would be, and I can email you guys the link if you want to click through and who's filling out the questionnaire, what position they held.
Heather, do you want one of us to read that so you don't have to use your voice and get coughing again?
Sure, if you want to.
Sure.
It's fine with me,
yeah,
Roberta.
I can. And there were some changes that I had proposed to it too, so we can take a look at those after we've gone through it. Question 4, are you aware of any concerns of landowners or town officials regarding abandoned or discontinued roads in your municipality? Significant, occasional, rarely, or not at all? In the last 15 years, how many roads or segments of roads have been formally discontinued by your municipality? In the last 15 years, how many roads or segments of roads has the select board determined to be abandoned? Do you know if there are any public easements in your municipality as a result of the discontinuance or abandonment of town ways? Yes, no, or maybe. If you answered yes to 7 above, do you know the location of these public easements? If yes, how many of these public easements are located in your municipality? This is one that I have a problem with the wording. And it's very subtle, but I had to read it 3 times because I kept thinking that it was asking how many of the public easements you counted are in your municipality as opposed to somebody else's, but you wouldn't be counting them if they're in somebody else's municipality. But I think if we just change the wording slightly, if yes, how many public easements, just take out these, how many public easements are located in your municipality? What is the approximate total number of miles of these public easements? Does your municipality maintain any of these public easements? That one, again, I have a problem with the word maintain because it has 2 meanings. It can either mean to provide maintenance or it can mean to allow to exist. And that's the problem, is when they just allow them to exist and don't provide any maintenance. So that could be changed to, does your municipality provide maintenance for any of these public easements?
And that could be either year-round or seasonally.
That's the next question, I think, or maybe the next one down. If yes, on number 11, how many and approximate miles the town maintains? And then you scroll down.
Oh, okay.
Answer, how many of these public easements receive the level of maintenance listed below? Year-round maintenance, summer maintenance only, winter maintenance only. Other, please specify. I suppose that could be sporadic maintenance or something like that. Road inventory. Does your municipality have a local road inventory? This one, again, I think needs some work. Heather, I don't know, will this survey format allow you to ask for check all that apply? Or does it have to be just one answer for each one?
I don't know, Roberta. That's something I have to go back and play with. I think the way I had it set was, I think you can only choose one, but I bet there's some way I can change it to check all, check them all or something, or put other, like another box for all of the above, because I can add all of the above, so I could do that.
Yeah, I think this is more.
But I think if it's not all of the above, yeah.
This would be more a matter of B and C or something like that, rather than all of them.
I have to, I'll have to go through and see the.
One of the
way for it.
Wait a minute, go back. I haven't into that one yet. One of the problems I have with this is that for LRAT purposes, they already have an inventory for townways, correct, Pete?
Yeah, we actually have an inventory of all roads in every town between us and 911.
Well, townways and private roads.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily include discontinued roads, does it?
No, only if someone lives on it.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. So we need to have townways public easements, private roads, discontinued roads, abandoned roads. They kind of all need to be listed separately. But then they'd have to check off which ones they have an inventory of, because some towns might have townways and public easements, or townways and private roads, or they might have townways, private roads, public easements, discontinued roads. So it kind of needs to be check off all that apply. Then next one, does your municipality have documentation of the legal status of local roads? All, most, some, or none. And then section 5. Are you aware that the Maine DOT Local Road Center has a local public road inventory for your municipality, which is available on request? Is it possible that they would not know that? I would think they'd
Oh,
have.
yeah. Yeah, certainly.
It's possible, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Are you aware that all of your municipalities' public and private roads can be seen on Maine DOT's map viewer? I think that's a good question, because that's a very useful thing to know, and I don't think all towns do know it.
Yeah,
Right.
just remember, Roberta, when it says public and private roads, that implies the legal status, whereas the map viewer is really just showing what's maintained.
That's a good point. So maybe that question needs a little work too.
Yeah.
And thank you for completing the questionnaire. So I think I caught all the things that I had problems with. Do we want to discuss each of those changes and see if everybody agrees to them or not?
Having just read this again after months, I'd like to mull it over for a day or two and just tweak it a little bit. And was this reviewed by Rebecca when she was at MMA?
It was, and I think it was tweaked by her and Jim. And the last thing we were going to do is she was going to take it back to MMA and send it out. But I think then she left MMA and went to Maine State Police. So I think before we could get, because I think we got caught up in the bills and stuff we were trying to get past that year. So
Okay.
it kind of got shoved to the side.
And our new MMA person, I've forgotten her name. Is it
Tanya
Tanya.
Emery.
Yeah, I think she said that MMA has approved sending out the survey, but
Yeah.
they probably approved it as it's worded here. So if we make some tweaks to it, probably have to run it by them again.
Oh, and we have to run it by the full commission again, because I think we all, in my notes, I have that we all voted to approve this to go out. So I think we need to do another vote.
That's true.
So that we're all in agreement. So if, anybody says anything, we can just say, no, the whole commission was in agreement. But I don't think the changes that you're requesting, Roberta, are gonna, I don't think any of those are
Substantive.
Yeah, like I don't
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem with the changes.
yeah.
I think
Do you know what I mean?
I think they clarify what the intent was, so I think they're good changes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that but we'll run it by everybody. I mean, I don't even know if we need to do a vote maybe in the commission. Maybe we can just have everybody just email me and say whether or not they think it's okay.
Yeah, thank
Save
you,
some time.
Tom. That was my goal, was to make it clearer, less confusing, less ambiguous, not to actually change what it's trying to mean, but to try to make the meaning a little more clear.
Absolutely.
Let's see, Heather, do you have that list of proposed amendments that I sent you, or I can send it again?
On trying to remember when you sent them to me.
Was it a week or so ago, I think?
I'm just gonna pull up the. No, I don't think it was for this commission, right? I sent it out one of the other subcommittees.
I sent one for the other subcommittee just before the meeting, and then I also sent this one and said, here, at least I'm sending this one a little more in advance.
Okay, I have
slipped through the cracks or something. I can
have the one for subcommittee 1 that you had sent out for question 9, 11, 16, were those the three that you wanted to make changes to, Roberta?
That sounds like it. Can we go back to the survey?
Yeah, how about I'll just share my screen
Okay,
and then everyone can see that email.
yeah, this is the one.
So this is the changes Roberta is recommending for question 9, 11, and 16. So
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I just said as we were going through it. So I actually remembered. Amazing.
So that question 16, that first sentence really isn't right. They're not required to have an inventory for what they provide. They're not required to do anything, really.
Okay.
okay.
All right. Well, that wasn't part of my change anyway. That was just my trying to explain it. What I had suggested for changes was townways, private roads, public easements, discontinued roads with no remaining easement.
And it looks like I can allow for multiple answers. I just need to turn it on, Roberta.
Okay.
So I'll check in the forms. But there's a little tab, I think, for each question, so I can have one answer or multiple answers. So for that one, I can make sure it says multiple, and then I'll make sure it registers. I'll play around with it.
And who is going to send this survey out?
It'll be MMA, like because I don't they have the best relationship, I think, with the towns at this point, and have, I think, every single town but one in Maine. So, and I think they have previously done these types of surveys with the towns. So I think it's a good approach. I think some towns aren't still aware that we're a commission. So,
Yeah, and they may have their own format too for questionnaires and surveys because they do those fairly frequently.
so, and I'll double check again, but they had actually recommended I use the Microsoft form protocol because that's usually what all towns can access. And then it all comes to me, so they don't have to tabulate or it doesn't go anywhere else. So even if MMA sends out the link, it will all come back to me to tabulate, so they won't have to do anything.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be good to get that done because until we know what we're working with, it's a little bit hard to know. If you don't know your target, how do you aim for it?
I can make
So Heather, can you send that again to all of us,
the link for
the survey?
Yeah,
And
I can.
that email right there, I don't think I remember I didn't get that.
No, you didn't, because that was for subcommittee 1.
Yep.
Okay. We'll cut and paste that
All right.
for you. With the link. We get done here today, I think.
I think that's why it didn't get sent was because it got labeled as being for subcommittee 1 and it isn't.
I'll send that out at the end of the meeting so everybody can review it. And I'll make sure. And then you guys can just email me if you want for the changes, and then I can, we can talk about maybe just sending it out to the commission to take a look and report back. And then if anybody has any questions, can do it that way. That way, maybe we can get a head start on it, kind of get it out a little sooner. So now that we've done with the survey, is there anything else?
Okay,
What's the next thing we want to talk about?
well, the other thing we're supposed to be looking at is making up a template for when a public easement is discontinued. How can landowners have something that they can just plug into and deed each other a shared private access? And this is something that I've kind of worked on for a while. So I've accumulated various easements that people have written up for similar situations. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like. There are certain things I like and don't like about each one, I guess. And so then I came up with my own. And I've also come up with a list of things that people should think about so that they know what they're getting into, whether they want to approve discontinuing the public easement or not. So I sent Heather, I think, 3 attachments. Can you pull those up one at a time and take a look at them?
Which one do you want me to pull up first?
Pull them up in the order that I listed them on the email, I guess.
These. One second, I have so many tabs open.
I often have that problem.
I'm gonna close some of these so I can see it. Okay, here we go. All right. Some reason.
These
Sorry,
the
I think
one,
my computer's frozen.
these the ones you just sent a few minutes ago?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to, can you share them by any chance? Because my computer is like, I don't know if it's just it's frozen on me. Trying to get it up.
I could probably share it from my screen too.
You should be able to share it from your screen. Absolutely.
Let's see.
And why it's not allowing me to open.
Did I do it right? Nope, I didn't do that right. Okay. Screen.
There we go. I think I got it
I think
now.
Oh, you got it?
I think so. Hold on one second.
If you don't have it, I do.
Okay. I think that's the one, right? This one, Roberta. It's the first one.
Yep, that's the one.
Hmm.
Okay, this is a kind of fill in the blanks one that I had done that people could use. Again, this is for where there is a public easement remaining on a discontinued or abandoned road, and the abutters decide they don't want it to be a public easement. And the only way to get rid of the public easement is to assure that all the property owners will have access by granting each other a shared private access. And then if they do that, the public easement can be discontinued. The hang up with that, the way the law is currently worded, is that after they've gone to all the work of drawing up these agreements and working it out so that everybody's satisfied, then the town can still vote that they're not going to give up the public easement. So that's something we have to look at. But first of all, here's a template that they could use. No, all men by these presents that I fill in the name of whatever county, what town, state of Maine, in consideration of a shared right of way, or it could say an easement in common. I don't know which is the better wording there. Granted to me by, and then it would list off the other landowners. The receipt of which I do hereby acknowledge, do hereby remise, release, bargain, quit claim, sell, and convey unto the above named parties their heirs and assigns forever a shared right-of-way easement in common with this grantor. That's important there, that in common with this grantor. And you'll see one of the examples later that they didn't do that. Across my property located on the north, south, east, or west side of the road, so-called in the town of, county of, state of Maine, said right-of-way to follow the route of said blank road, the name of the former road, and to be so many feet in width on either side of the center line of the said way. Said shared right-of-way herein granted to be for the full and complete use of the above named parties, their assigns, successors, heirs, executors, and administrators, to have and to hold said shared right-of-way across my said property, together with all the privileges and appurtenances thereunto belonging, including the rights of ingress and egress and the right to install utilities. Maintenance of the said shared right-of-way or easement in common shall be shared by the several grantees in proportion to their use thereof as determined by any road association or road maintenance agreement, which shall be negotiated by the parties. And I have a separate document that they can use for that. I provide that if no such agreement can be reached, each party shall contribute an equal share of the cost of reasonable maintenance. My said property being more particularly described in a warranted or quitclaim deed of blank to me dated blank and recorded in the blank county registry of deeds in book page.
Roberta, would it be better if for us to read all this stuff first? Because I don't think you need to read all of this word for word here. I'd kind of like to give it a shot myself first, just to read the thing and interpret it all.
Okay, well, if you'd like to do that.
So is there anything in statute right now that allows a town to extinguish a public easement, just like they extinguish or discontinue a town way?
Yeah, it's under Title 23, Section 3026A, which is the one for discontinuance of townways and public easements. And the problem with it is that they combined the two into one statute, and it makes it so long and so cumbersome that I think a lot of towns just take a look at it and say, no, forget it, and they just don't do anything. They don't discontinue the road, but they don't continue maintaining it either. It just sort of sits in limbo until eventually, presumably, it would qualify for abandonment. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to intentionally begin abandoning a road. As long as it's still legally a road, they're supposed to be obligated to keep it safe and convenient for travelers with motor vehicles. But Section 3026A does say that it's for discontinuance of public easements. And I know of at least 2 or 3 towns where they've tried it. In one town, I know they tried to do it and then realized after they'd taken a vote that they hadn't gone through the proper procedure, which includes a 1-year waiting period. And because they had done it wrong, they just declared it void, and everything kind of lost momentum and it didn't get done. Another town that I know where they tried to do it, the person who owned the first piece of land that also abutted on the public road wasn't willing to go along with it. And that's why in one of the things that I've included in my discussion here is that it should allow an inner portion of a road to be to discontinue the public easement. In other words, if the person at the beginning of the road doesn't want to be included in it, well, let that piece of the road remain public. But the ones further in could put up a gate partway in or whatever, and have the rest of it be private. That would also solve the problem where, like on our road, where it was a through road and people try to drive through. Well, they get halfway in and find they can't go the rest of the way, so they turn around and go out again, so the road gets used twice. If there were a blockade in the middle and it were clearly labeled as a dead end, then maybe we wouldn't have so many people trying to go through.
So are these 3+ pages here intended to, it says public easement, but are you trying to use this to kind of answer the questions or at least address the issues related to discontinuance also?
Discontinuance specifically of a public easement. So my thought was to divide the discontinuance law into 2. Instead of having it discontinuance of townways and public easements, have one that's just discontinuance of townways, and that would go back to the way that it was before they tried to put in this 1-year waiting period on discontinuing the public easement. And then because that discontinuance would retain a public easement, then there would be a separate statute by which they could then discontinue the public easement. So it would uncomplicate the town discontinuance process a bit.
Okay.
Well, I know of a third place, come to think of it, where it was done successfully. There was someone who owned property kind of like ours in the middle of what had been a through road. And they were having problems with people driving through who didn't have any reason to be there. And so they successfully petitioned to get the public easement discontinued. So both ends of the road are still public, but the middle section is not. And it's worked out very well for them. It had been used as a snowmobile trail, but the person that owned that piece of land in the middle, who was the one who wanted it discontinued, happened to be the president of the snowmobile club. And he very kindly offered to relocate the trail where it went across his property so that it wouldn't be going right by his house. And the snowmobile club readily agreed to that, and it went through. So there is now a road that doesn't have a middle section. It's two separate ends.
Okay, but when I read beyond page 1 here, or at least the bottom of page 1, it says questions to consider when, and then page 2, further down, it's asking questions like you need to think about this, you need to ask questions about that. For the homeowner or landowner to consider, there's a bunch of stuff there. Page 3 to ask more questions. Are those things that all should be being asked when there is a discontinuance process about to happen?
Well, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to think about those things. I don't think it needs to be in the statute, but maybe have information available for towns or for landowners who are considering asking for a road to be discontinued or asking for a public easement to be discontinued. So these are some things that you just might want to be aware of these things and give a little thought to it before you decide what you want to do with it.
So should that be the same for this thing here, where this is a shorter proposal, but there are things to consider and questions to be answered in a separate document that's not called a proposal?
Yeah, this was just me kind of putting together ideas. That's not saying that
Okay.
the whole thing is going to be proposed for a statute or anything, but these are just some resources to have available for people so that if somebody wants to extinguish a public easement, we can say, look, here's some things you should think about.
Yeah.
And if you decide you want to do it, here's a form you can use.
So it sounds like those things are more of like a checklist thing that you should refer to.
Yeah, that would be a good way to put it. It could be done up as a checklist.
Whereas as it's titled Proposal 4, to me, that probably could be done on one page with the checklist to be considered to be able to fill that out.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just putting together ideas. Originally, I had all of these things in one straggled out document because I was just putting together all my thoughts on getting rid of public easements all in one place. And then this morning I split it up into separate documents, but this one probably could have been split again.
Okay. So are we supposed to, so this is one of our tasks, was to come up with this, some sort of final proposed extinguishment process or document?
We were asked to come up with a template by which people could register their agreements for discontinuing the public easement. So in other words, this first part here is something that could be filed with the Registry of Deeds so that each of the landowners is still guaranteed access, but it's a private access rather than a public access.
Okay. So for that to happen, does there have to be statutory language that would require something like this to be filled out and actually get filed with the registry?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about it as being required to use this format, but my thought was just that it would be something that could be available if people asked for it. Whether it be something MMA would supply or I don't know. We were just asked to come up with a template, and I'm not sure whether it was the legislature that asked for that
Okay.
or whether it was the commission. I've forgotten now. It was last year or the year before that I asked for it, and it didn't get done last year.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if it's not part of a regular process, here it is 2026. If whatever we established is not really codified somewhere or made part of a process that MMA provides, or templates or guidelines or checklists that they provide, it's going to be forgotten real quick, or people just aren't even going to be aware of it. Such a thing exists.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, good point. We've seen that happen before,
Yep.
like with their voluntary inventory of roads.
So like this here, like I said a few minutes ago, I kind of like to just read this stuff. A lot of it is checklist related sort of language.
Mhm.
But now I know what your intent is. I'd kind of like to give it a thoughtful read for a few moments.
Sure.
I don't know how the others feel.
Has everyone got the whole thing in their emails so that they don't have to depend on Heather scrolling it down?
Yeah, we should have got them at 12:37 an hour ago.
Yes, I have that.
You guys want to take 5-10 minutes and read through it?
No, I need to focus on it by myself. I gotta have some quiet time to read it.
So like after the meeting you're thinking, Pete?
Yeah, sometime in the next few days.
Okay.
Okay, well, in that case, why don't we take a quick look at the other two documents and then you can peruse those at your leisure too.
Sure. So just like you did before, Roberta, just explain to us what the intent of these things and what's the issue to begin with and why they needed.
Okay. Yeah, my brain has been kind of scattered recently because we've had a bunch of stuff to deal with. We lost David's service dog back at the beginning of the month.
Oh, really? The white one?
And he really depends on that dog because with his PTSD, that dog was there for him every minute, right on his tail.
Yeah.
So it left a big hole when he died rather suddenly and unexpectedly.
Wow.
And so we have just gotten another dog to train to take his place, but he's young and very much a puppy. So everything that he sees goes in his mouth.
Yep. Hopefully it doesn't shed as much as the other one probably did.
No, he doesn't seem to.
That's good.
The one we just had was a year-round shedder. The one we had before blew out everything in the spring for about 6 weeks and then didn't shed for the rest of the year. Okay, so this document, there are 3 samples. These are taken from deeds that I found when I was doing research for people. Each one, I give you the book and page number. So if you want to look up the original deed, because I put it in with fill in the blanks. But if you want to look up the original deed, you get the book and page number for each of them. And each one I have a note saying what I like or don't like about it. This first one.
So I understand, if I could ask, you're looking at example 1. It says format copied from book 1316, page 182.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the things that I like about that is that it says that it's granting an easement in common with the grantor. In other words, the grantor doesn't lose their access because they're giving it to someone else. The problem with it is that it was just kind of slipped in between lines and there wasn't a lot of emphasis on it. And that one actually went to court. And I told the attorney, you make sure that you use that document because that is going to be your ticket to preserving access for the grantor. And the judge asked, what's the relevance of this document? This person that this grants the easement to isn't even a party to this case. And the attorney said, you're right, it's irrelevant, and dropped it.
Hmm.
And the result was that the person who had granted the easement lost his own access.
Hmm.
And he shouldn't have, because it said right in the deed that the access was in common with the grantor.
Hmm. Yeah, you would think you would retain the use of your own property.
Right.
Just you wouldn't. Yeah, it's not logical that you'd lose it.
The problem was that it was over a discontinued road that was discontinued without easement.
Yep.
And when one person granted access to the person beyond, that should have kept him access to his own land as well. And according to the judge, it didn't.
Roberta, if I could ask a question, I know just enough to be dangerous, I guess. It seems to me there was separate laws on the books regarding whether or not an abandoned road had an easement on it. Seems though prior to 1970 something, if a town abandoned a road, there was not an easement, but after that, there was an easement unless it was so stated that there wasn't an easement. Is that sort of correct?
Yeah, that's sort of correct. That's a good way to put it. Before 1976, there was no statute that allowed the abandonment of a road. And in 1976, they passed a law that said that a town could abandon a road if they had not maintained it for 30 or more consecutive years. And it gets kind of interesting. If you read the legislative discussion when they passed the law, it was very clear in the discussion that the legislators thought that when a road was abandoned, it stopped being a road.
Right.
Which is not too surprising because up until 1965, that was what happened when you discontinued a road, it was gone. But
right.
1965, they changed the town discontinuance law. They did not change the county discontinuance law. But the town discontinuance law changed to say that when a road is discontinued, it automatically retained what was at that time called a private way, which I believe they intended to be private access for the landowners. And some of them actually said in their discontinuance order that they were retaining an easement for the landowners. But the court said that that's unconstitutional. You can't retain access over one person's land to another private person's land. It has to be public, so there's a public purpose for it. Otherwise, you can't take it. Can't take it as private property. So in 1976, they changed the discontinuance law to say that when a road is discontinued, it automatically becomes a public easement unless otherwise specified. And of course, in 76, that was the same year that county ways and organized townships became townways. So after 76, it applies to both townways and county ways that are discontinued. They automatically retain a public easement unless otherwise specified. Now, the problem with the abandonment statute is, as I said in the legislative discussion, it was very clear that the legislators believed there would be no easement. And so they added in a clause saying that the town could vote to retain a recreational easement.
Hmm.
And when things started going to court, it very soon came out that, well, the way the statute is worded, it says that a way that is abandoned under the statute takes on the same status that it would have had after a discontinuance pursuant to the discontinuance law.
Hmm.
Means that it retains a public easement. And that gets to be a problem because if a road hasn't been maintained for 30 years and all of a sudden you open it as a public easement, probably nobody's been using it for all those years because it was in such bad shape. But somebody moves in thinking that they're, well, as we did, we were told the road was discontinued and that it was discontinued so far back that it was no longer an easement. And then they changed the law and all of a sudden now there's a public easement on it. You fix the road and people who haven't been using it for years because it was in bad shape now say, oh, look, we can use the road now. And we do. And that's what tears up the road.
Yep. Trees could grow up in 30 years.
Yep.
And they do.
That's the other thing. before 1976, there was no statute saying that they could abandon a road. But there was, what was often done was referred to as common law abandonment, which my husband will jump up and down and say there is no such thing as common law. Statutes can only be made by Congress. And there are some attorneys who will tell you that in order to have a road be common law abandoned, it has to go through court. And there's good reason for that, because common law abandonment was said to not retain any easement, so it could leave people landlocked. And you had to make sure that the road was, in fact, not used by anyone. If you have a road that wasn't used by anyone for 20 or 30 years, chances are it's because nobody really needs it. And so let the road go, let it cease to exist. But people will argue that, oh yeah, that was abandoned by common law. And there's every bit of evidence that people have used it continuously. It may not have been maintained, but it was still used. Those roads should not be just closed off to everybody.
Thank you.
So I'll go back to this easement deed thing.
This first one here is the one that says, let's see, where is it? Or are we on the second one? No, here's, yeah, right in the middle of the page, being a right-of-way and easement to be used in common with the grantors. And then example 2, this one I think is defective. It doesn't say whether there's any easement for utilities. And in this case, this one was kind of interesting, and apparently I wasn't the only person that had the idea of let people voluntarily make it into a private easement in common. In this case, there was a road that crossed a town line, and there were, I believe, 4 properties before the town line that used this piece of road, and nobody else in their town used it. But people would come through from the other town and tear up the road. And it hadn't been maintained for a while. And so the 4 landowners went to the county and said, could we please discontinue this road? We don't want people coming through anymore. And the county said, well, under the county law, when a road is discontinued, it ceases to be a road. That would leave the 4 of you landlocked. But if you will agree to grant each other a private easement in common, then you won't be landlocked. We can then legally discontinue the road without easement. And so the 4 landowners got together and each of them deeded to the others a right-of-way. The problem was that when each of them deeded the right-of-way to the others, they didn't say in there that they were keeping an easement for themselves. So this is where you could run into that problem of somebody giving away their entire access to somebody else. I think the reason that they did that was because each of them was granted an easement by the others, but the others can only grant an easement over their own land. They couldn't grant an easement over, say you have properties A, B, C, and D. Properties B, C, and D could each grant an easement to A over properties B, C, and D, but not over property A. So property A should have retained an easement for themselves as well as granting it to the others. Is that too confusing, or is that?
No, again, no good deed goes unpunished.
And then the third one, this one is a little bit different. The grantor had owned the land on both sides of the road, and then he sold off the land on one side of the road and gave the new owners of that land an easement over the road, but he kept the road for himself. He thought he was going to eventually build there and he wanted to own the road. And then later he decided he wasn't going to build there, and he sold the land on the other side of the road and included the road. So the owner on one side has only an easement over it, and the owner on the other side actually owns the road. And because the road was sort of in dispute, as to whether or not there was a public easement, whether it was abandoned by statute or abandoned by common law. There's language in here that says that if the public still has any rights in the roads, then we don't have a right to do this. But if the public does not have any rights in the road, then this is what we're doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so why don't you move on to the other one, that sample maintenance agreement one,
Okay,
Muddy Rock Road.
yeah. I just stuck that in there as a placeholder.
So the purpose of this again, Roberta?
This is just an example for what people could do up for a maintenance agreement if they're going to have a shared private easement. They could use the private ways, so-called private ways statutes, Title 23, sections 3101 through 3105A. They could set up a statutory road association that way, or they could just have an informal road maintenance agreement. But this is just something that they could do at the time of the discontinuance of the public easement, just to something in place.
Does there anything in here pertain to utilities?
That's a good question. Did I put that in here or not?
I don't see it.
Looks like I missed that in this one. Unless if you scroll down, it's in there someplace. You want to scroll down a little, Heather? No, looks like I missed easements. Okay, good catch. That definitely should be in there someplace. Although, come to think of it, maybe it doesn't need to be in here because this is just maintenance.
Correct.
So that would be
Yep,
that would be in the easement agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that third bullet there, that could be controversial because some places do that and others just have everybody on the road pays the same thing, whether you live at the end or in the middle or at the beginning.
Which one's that, Peter, now?
Third one, the cost of necessary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just depends on how far up the road you are.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
yeah, there are various ways that I've seen that calculated.
If you live 100 feet in on the road, you shouldn't probably be expected to pay the same as one who lives a half mile down the road. Is that what you're saying?
that's what it says there.
Yeah, there are various ways of figuring it, and I don't think that's always necessarily the best way to do it. I think I probably copied this partly from something else too.
Yeah, because I think there's quite a few of them where doesn't matter where you live. If you use part of the road, then you pay the same as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it probably should be worded more like section 3101, which says that it must be fair and equitable. And the courts have apparently been very flexible with that. As long as if you have a formula and you apply that formula to everyone the same way, they count that as being fair and equitable. So some road associations divide it by whether you're on whether you have a developed lot or an undeveloped lot. They have two different rates. Some say that if you're seasonal, you pay one rate, and if you're year round, you pay another rate. There are a few that have something about distance. I know there's one that if you're within so many feet of the beginning of the road, you pay a lesser fee, but after that, everybody else pays the same. But it can get so complicated trying to figure out how to divide it fairly if you do it by mileage or how many feet of road you use, that a lot of road associations just say, you know what, everybody gets to use the whole road, so we're just going to charge everything the same.
Yep.
It's
'Cause you,
especially complicated if it's a through road that goes to, you've got a public way on either end of it, because where is the beginning, which end is the end?
I live at the beginning. No, I live at the beginning.
Yes, that's right.
Well, fortunately, most of the private roads are not through roads. But a lot of these discontinued roads are, or at least were, through roads.
I can think of a couple here that are through roads, and that's been an issue too. Yeah.
Yeah, that opens another whole discussion is where did the term private way come from to begin with?
Hmm.
If you go way back in the statutes, like in the 1800s, a private way was laid out at the request of a landowner. And it was often a case of where someone had a mill or some kind of business and he wasn't on a road. He was just out in the middle of no place. And the law said that if someone owned improved land that was not yet connected to the public road system, he could petition for a private way. And you might first go to the neighbors and say, hey, can I buy a right of way across your property? And they'd say no. And then you'd go to the town and say, could you lay out a townway? And the town would say, we have no particular reason to have a road there. It's just going to serve your business, but we can lay out a private way for you. But if they laid out a private way, the expenses for it, the compensation to the other landowners for the taking of their land, and presumably the cost of building and maintaining the road, would be the private individual who was going to benefit from it. And that's where it got the term private way. It was not actually a private road because the public had a right to use it, but it was called a private way because it was financed privately.
Hmm.
And that kind of got messed up when they said that all discontinued roads become private ways because most of these discontinued roads were not dead ends. And in the
Mhm.
case of the original private way, it was invariably a dead end because it was connecting that piece of land to the public road system. It wasn't going through and connecting it to roads on both ends.
Yep.
So about the only traffic that would use it would be people going to that person's business, and he could chalk it up to a business expense. And of course, back in the 1800s, how much did it cost to build a road?
Mhm.
Well, we've got an old history of Kennebec County that talks about the road being from one spotted tree to another.
Yeah.
Doesn't take a whole lot of expense to build a road like that.
Yep.
But
Just a train.
now you've got a road that's a through road, that's a public road, that's subject to use by 80,000 to 100,000 pound log trucks. And you expect the landowner who didn't even ask for it to maintain the road?
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to read these things. I assume the others will do the same thing and try to come up with some sort of revised document to present to the others.
And that's a good point on that last one about not necessarily having it be by distance. And I remember now where I got that one. That was a case that I actually worked with the people. There was a road that was declared abandoned under section 3028, and most of the land along both sides of the road had belonged to one individual. And when he died, his three children, I think it was, were trying to divide up the land. And there was a dispute over who got which piece and who was going to have to maintain what. And in their case, it was fair to have each of them maintain only the part that they were going to use. But you're correct that in a lot of cases that would not be the most fair way to do it.
Hmm. Okay, so what else we gotta do here?
I think that's pretty much what was on the agenda.
In Heather's summary of all the meeting dates for everybody on March 12th, she had what we just did on the survey. Yeah, and then it was creation of municipal inventories of public roads, when they were created, on and on. And then consideration of a centralized statewide repository for municipal inventory information. Was that not on whatever agenda that Heather printed?
So the
Left it kind of open so that you guys could decide how best to use the time. I didn't know if you guys, because this committee is question 4, 5, and 6, I think, off of our template that Jim had
Yes.
worked with us on.
Yep.
So I'm was kind of trying to leave it a little more open-ended so you guys, if you wanted to focus more on, because I had only scheduled for an hour and a half, on like what you guys wanted to focus on, and so I left it open. I didn't go into too many details, Pete.
so is if you can just clarify, is this committee supposed to be doing the inventory, or is that a separate committee, subcommittee?
So 4, 5, and 6. 1 second. I will I'll put it on the screen. Oh, sorry. Cold does not want to leave me, I guess.
Yeah, I can sympathize. My husband's got something like that. And yesterday he got chilled, and when he gets chilled, sometimes his muscles lock up on him, and he got to where he couldn't move his arms or his legs. He could only bend his hips. And I had to kind of teeter-totter him down to the bed and flop him over onto the bed like a log and lift his legs up in. And he was coughing because he was on his back and he should have been on his stomach. And he ended up saying, "Bring me the phone and dial the hospital." Well, they wanted to send an ambulance out, and he said, "Don't you dare send an ambulance out, you'll wreck the road. And I'll have to spend tomorrow driving up and down on, I'll have to be driving up and down on an open tractor tomorrow, and I'll get chilled again." He said, "I'm going to live, just leave me alone."
Hmm.
But that's a concern on these roads. When you can't get emergency access to somebody, what are you going to do?
Yep.
Right. So this is subcommittee 4, 5, and 6.
Yep.
So it was the survey, creation of municipal inventories of public roads when they're created, extent of road. I think we put this together because we thought that the creation of inventories and the questionnaire would go hand in hand. And then consideration of the centralized statewide repository, which I know last time we had made a suggestion to the legislature for that, and gave them our thing that it should probably be in the registry of deeds. I think we gave them like 3 different suggestions on that.
Yeah, I have an update on that one. I was invited to speak to the Registers of Deeds Association last month, and I proposed to them the idea. I said, would you be interested in being the home for an inventory? And they already have an index to the county discontinuances that they've had for a number of years, and they said they have found that most useful. They said people are constantly coming in and asking, "What's the status of this road?" And if it was a county road, they can look in that book and find the book and page number and pull up the county book, and here's the discontinuance, or here's the layout, whichever. And they are now beginning to learn how to use the DOT map viewer to find that information, but that doesn't have town discontinuances. And so I said, how would you like it if you could have an index to the town discontinuances as well? And they thought that was a great idea. They said it'd be really helpful to them. My thought was not to have every town bring them their whole inventory, because I've seen some towns where there's a notebook this thick that they have a copy of every discontinuance order and every action that was ever taken on every road in town. But what this would be very similar to the county index, where it just lists the name of the town, and then for each town, it has the date on which it was voted, what action was voted, whether the vote was yes or no, and it would not require interpreting that information. This is one of the big snags for MMA, is they say, well, first of all, sometimes we can't find the information, and then if we can find it, sometimes it's not clear what it means, and you'd have to hire an attorney or perhaps even go to court to determine what the result is. So my thought is, don't try to interpret it, just find the book and page number where the record can be found. And then if there's a question, some of them you can look at and say, oh, it's obvious they intended to discontinue it without easement, or they intended to discontinue it with easement. Problem solved, you know what it is. But if it's unclear, if it's one of these ones that has odd wording like discontinued to maintenance only, or closed, or some other wording that isn't actually in the statute, then you can at least tell somebody, here's the book and page number, take it to your attorney and have them work on it. But at least the information is there, you know where to find it. So you're not starting from scratch every time.
Does it make sense to first get the survey out to the municipalities and get that feedback back from them, and then make recommendations to the legislature on where and how the towns should do that? Because I'm wondering, I don't know, if the towns would push back and say, well, we don't have this or whatever, where we can say, well, we did the survey and I don't know, like 80% of the towns have this done, and there's no reason why they couldn't just turn that over to so and so.
Yeah, that's the other part of my proposal, is that instead of mandating that every town has to do a survey, just say, if the town has done a survey, or if after seeing this, the town decides it's a good idea and does a survey, whenever they have it, they can register it with the Registry of Deeds. And then say only 40% of the towns have done a survey. Well, at least then we've got 40% of the towns where we can find the information. It's a big improvement over what we have now, which is basically you have to go to each town and ask if they have it or not. And some towns do, and most towns don't.
I know I had a little bit of experience a few years ago on a discontinued road in a town, my hometown here of Weld, actually. And they didn't know, but they gave me the pile of minutes going back to 1925 and from the town meetings. And, so I went through 40 years of town meetings to find the one article handwritten in cursive that said, discontinue the road from the John Smith place to the Robert Small place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was voted on yes. And that's the kind of drudgery you have to go through. And I bet that's not, Weld's not unique in that. I bet there's a lot of towns that's the only record they have is a town warrant from the town meeting they had back in 1932 or whatever.
I have 3 or 4 notebooks like this. I've gone down to the state library and gone through stacks of town reports. What I often do is somebody will get in touch with me and they'll say, well, the town won't give me the information, or the town says they don't know where the information is, or I don't want to contact the town because I don't want to stir up trouble. I want to find out what it is first before I approach the town. And so I tell them my backup plan, if you can't get it from the town, is you call the state library. Of course, right now that doesn't work because they're in the process of moving back into their permanent quarters.
Yep.
They're not allowing people in at the time. But for years, my technique has been I call them up, I say, can you bring in the annual reports for such and such town? And then I'll arrange a time and I'll go in. Sometimes the people on the road who are looking for it will come in with me, and we'll just spend hours going through annual reports. And what I always tell people is, even if you're looking for one specific road, you write down every road you find. Because 2 reasons. One is you may find out later, oh, well, it didn't used to be called the Smith Road. It used to be called the Jones Road. I think I saw something about a Jones Road, but now I don't remember where it was, and you have to go through it all again.
Yep.
Or you find out where your road is, and then your neighbor on the next road over says, "Oh, is that how you do it? Gee, I wish I'd known. I would have come down and looked for my road." Well, you've already got the notes.
Saved them a ton of time. Yeah.
Yep. If we can get that inventory going and get it registered with the registries of deeds, I have I don't know, probably a few dozen towns that I've already gone through. And I could compile that information and get it to them. I did up a sort of a template on. If I can share my screen here, let me see if I can do this. There's two things I can show you. One is if I go online and I go to, let's see, discontinued roads. Okay, if I've got that up on my screen here, can I share that? Let's see. Not sure how I share a screen if it's. Can I do this? Share screen. Yeah, here we go. Share. Okay, this is what the county index book looks like. It's got the town, and then the first column here is the number of the county. They're numbered 1 through 16 in alphabetical order. So York County is number 16. But then there's 28 would be the volume number, and then 29 is the page number. That D stands for discontinued. Then it gives the year of the discontinuance. And then if they know which road it was, they list it over here. Some of them it says not located, because they couldn't figure where it was. And it's again, if it says from the big tree by Smith's Barn to the old oak stump by the Jones place, and nobody remembers where Smith and Jones lived, and the tree isn't here anymore. Sometimes you have to go tracing the chain of title back and see if you can find where the person lived. But you could do a similar thing for towns. You would have at the top of the page, you'd have what the town was, and then you'd have the year of the annual report, and then the number of the warrant article and the result of the vote, and a code number that would tell you what the action was, whether it was D for discontinued, or L for layout, or A for abandoned, or whatever. So that would be pretty compact. Each town would just be a few pages. Having this, this 2-inch thick volume from each town, they'd have a few pages for each town. It could all be put in one binder like the county binder.
Yeah, I see there's probably maybe 8 or 10 entries for just the town of Alfred, for instance. Yeah.
It actually goes down. Well, let's see. Yeah, Albany Township. Acton has a few. Abbott has a couple. Most of the towns are 2 or 3 pages long. Let's see, how long is Augusta? Well, let's see. This book is just discontinuances. There's another book that has discontinuances and layouts and petitions, and it will have 3 or 4 pages per town often.
Roberta, have you found this to be for every county? You can find the same thing?
There's one book that has all the counties in it.
Oh.
And this is available online from the Hancock County Registry of Deeds. But again, it's just the discontinuances. And the reason they have it is kind of an interesting story. A number of years ago, I was, again, asked to speak to the Registers of Deeds Association, and I brought the book with me. Well, the reason I had the book was because we'd been trying to find out what had happened to our road, which had been a county road. And we went to the DOT, and they pulled up this computer program that they had. And I said, is there any way of sorting out of that which roads were discontinued? Because the file I had on the computer was discontinuances, layouts, petitions, closings, whatever, anything that they found that had to do with roads. And I said, is there any way to pull out just which roads were discontinued? And they said, oh yeah, we can do that for you. Come back next week and we'll have a printout. And I thought it's going to be a few pages. Little did I know there are about 3,000 discontinued county roads in the state. And they printed out all of them for me. And the binder is about 3/4 of an inch thick. And
And the
so
first one you checked was your road, right?
ours wasn't listed because it's closed, not discontinued. So when they ran a search for the code letter D, ours didn't come up. So then I had to go back and ask for the closed roads, and that's only about a page and a half of listings. That's it. Because closing wasn't an official thing. There was no law that said that a town could permanently close a road. So anyway, so I had this binder, and then when I went in to speak to the registers of deeds, I took the binder with me, and they saw it, and their eyes popped open. They said, "Can we get a copy of that?" And I said, well, that's not mine to say. This belongs to the DOT. They just did this printout for me. And they said, well, can you find out? So I went back to the DOT and they said, oh, well, that computer program crashed. We still have the information, but we can no longer sort it. And I said, well, what they're interested in is the discontinuances, which I have a printout of. Would it be okay if I copied that and distributed it to them? And they said, sure, by all means. So the registers of deeds paid for the copies, and I was able to give each of the registers a copy of the discontinuance list. Well, then several years later, I asked them again. I said, well, I know you can't sort them anymore, but do you still have the printout for the whole thing? And they said, yes, they do. As a matter of fact, I could probably bring that up too, come to think of it. If I go to documents, go to my roadways master file, county layout books. Okay. Are you seeing this now?
Yes.
Habit? Yeah, and here you see it has L for layout, P for petition, D for discontinuance, petition, layout, petition, 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 layout, 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 petition, discontinuance. And sometimes it will say not located. Yeah, see, here's one, not located. And sometimes there'll be a layout and it will say, see, yeah, here's one, layout, see, discontinuance.
And that's by county, right, Roberta?
This listing is alphabetical by town.
By town, okay.
So they gave it to me on a flash drive. It wouldn't all fit as an email. So it got split into pieces.
Wow.
It's got Abbott, Acton, Addison, Albany Township, Albion, Alexander, Alfred, Helena, Elton, Amity, Andover. It goes on and on and on.
Wow.
So what do we got left to do here today? Not to speed you up, Roberta, but I got some other stuff I got to get done here.
Yeah, we're getting close to time. I think my proposal would be to see if we can get at least towns that have already done an inventory to file an index only with the registries of deeds. I wouldn't think that would be too burdensome a mandate.
So we're going to leave item 5 and 6 for the next meeting.
What are 5 and 6?
That's the creation of municipal inventories of public roads, when they were created, extent, physical conditions, and so on. and then the centralized statewide repository.
Well, the statewide repository would be what I was just talking about.
Yep.
It would be by county. It wouldn't be all in one place, but at least each county would have it.
Yeah, because I could have someone from our property office who deals with this stuff all the time. Roberta, that guy lad that I hooked you in with the other day.
Hmm.
Joel wouldn't be the best one to talk to, but Guy would be a better person to know exactly what they have upstairs here.
So you want me to get in touch with them? And if so, what would I ask?
Or I could just show them what we have here, and then I could just go up and see him.
Okay.
And if we set another meeting date, I'll just see if we can hook Guy in with us.
Okay. And I can send out a link to that Hancock County copy of the book.
Yep.
After I sent it out to the counties, they digitized it and put it online.
Okay.
That all sounds good to me.
So what I'm hearing is you guys are going to review the survey. I'll send out the link to the survey.
Yep.
The email copy Roberta had with the changes. We'll make the changes, and we want to make sure we get that out quickly, like probably within the next month. And that
Review the three attachments that Roberta sent.
the 3 attachments. Okay. And then you guys are thinking about doing a recommendation to have the towns turn over what they have to the Registry of Deeds.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I'm hearing? Anyone have anything? Did I miss anything?
I think that sounds what I heard.
Okay, so I'll send that out this afternoon to you guys. You guys will review the stuff, Roberta, for the template stuff. And then the recommendation.
When's our next
And then-
commission meeting?
I haven't set one yet. I have to talk to Amanda. She has a lot of doctor's appointments coming up. Let me talk to her. I'm thinking probably it's going to be May. Or I think it's May is what we had talked about. So let me talk to her. May or June. So, and see if we can't get that scheduled too. I think she wanted to get the subcommittees all to at least met once before we had the next meeting so that everybody could kind of give a report and see where we are in progress.
Yeah.
So
we could meet again soon if we wanted to.
what do you guys want? You guys want to meet in the next couple of weeks? What are you
Oh.
thinking?
It's my busy time of year, but I'll fit something in if you do the monkey thing. Survey monkey
The
thing.
doodle poll. Yeah, I could do the doodle poll, no problem. Do you guys want to meet in 2 weeks, or you want to meet in the end of the month? Because I'm thinking it's already the 3rd. So it'd either be it says the last 2 weeks of April, so you can either do it the 3rd or 4th week.
Whatever fits around the other subcommittee meetings.
Yeah.
If there's another subcommittee that none of these people are on, I can do 2 in 1 week if need be.
Yeah, I know. I haven't heard back from the doodle poll for a subcommittee one yet, so I'm still waiting.
Oh, doodle poll. Sorry, I meant
Doodle poll.
I
I know what you
survey
meant. That's why I
monkey.
said the doodle poll. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so if you
Could be
sent something out,
you know,
if you sent it out for week of the 13, 20, and 27, I got a few
Okay.
holes in there I could fit in.
Okay.
Heather, we have I forgot the name of the subcommittee, but we have one for the 13th, right?
That's subcommittee 10, and I think that's just you, Roberta, and Amanda.
Okay, that's on the committee number 10. I didn't know
Yeah.
what number I was. All right.
I know. We have a lot of subcommittees. I don't think usually we only have 3, so this is the most
And that's
that
it.
we've had. So it's a little more juggling.
And that's at 1 p.m. on the 13th.
Yes.
Monday the 13th. Yeah, thank you.
I have trouble keeping track of them by number. If we could give each of them an abbreviated name, I think that would help.
Yeah.
Subcommittee on county abandonment. I think that's what number 10.
If you want to send me a list, Roberta, for each of the subcommittees, I will take those names under advisement and rename them. I'm happy to do so. I don't,
Okay.
I don't, doesn't bother me at all. Whatever is easiest for you guys.
I think that's a good assignment for Roberta to do that, because I have the same, I can't remember numbers, whether number 10 or 9, 4, 3, whatever. But yeah.
Okay. All right.
You know,
So I get. Sorry, Pete.
Tom, you know what birthday your next birthday coming up is, right?
I try to even forget that, Peter, but yeah, I do, unfortunately.
We make it easy in our family. We just have them all on the same day. My husband, our daughter, and our grandson were all born on the same day.
You really were?
Not the same year.
You really were? All the same birthday?
Yeah, October 4th.
Really? Wow. 10-4.
We've got 3 sets of birthdays in our family, between kids and grandkids, that are on the same day too. Yeah. A mother and daughter, an uncle and nephew, and yeah, we got several of them. Seems like that's what you call Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
My daughter called up and she said, Mom, you remember that birthday present you gave to Dad? And I said, well, which one? I've given him a lot of birthday presents. No, the one that you gave to him. And she told me which year. And oh, that one. She said, well, I think I may be giving him another one. Oh, okay. And then it came down to time and she was saying, no, Lord, not on my birthday. I'll even wait an extra day. I don't want to be in labor on my birthday. She went into labor on her birthday.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so I've got 2 assignments. I've got to get out to you the link to the Hancock County book, and I've got to come up with names for the subcommittees.
Sounds like a plan. I'll get that email out to you guys later today, and I'll do the doodle poll too. So you should get a couple of emails from me today. All right.
Okay. Good. Everyone have a nice weekend and happy Easter.
Happy Easter to everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you all.
Yep. Thanks for coming, Martha, even if you didn't speak up much. Still appreciate having you here.
Hope you're feeling better, Heather.
Thank you.